In Raoul Peck's 2021 documentary series, Exterminate All the Brutes, the narrative arc of the white man and its imbued sense of surrealist mythopoesis destabilizes the myth of whiteness as historically disjointed. In Part 3, Killing at a Distance, or How I Thoroughly Enjoyed the Outing, the recurring figure, credited simply as White Man, appears as some kind of combination of scientist, doctor, and executioner, implicating science in the construction of whiteness. Set in an all-white morgue, the doctor's two white male henchmen are disheveled, limping, and bleeding. Their pallid faces are in harsh contrast to the healthiness and cleanliness of the man waiting in the room for them, Haitian anthropologist Michel Rolph Trouillot. The juxtaposition of Trouillot's quiet dignity, even at the hour of his death, with the corpse-like doctors and morticians with hungry faces, casts whiteness as vulturous, where whiteness, especially in medicine and the sciences, supposedly signifies purity and sterility. Here it is grimy and sickly. The walls of the all-white facility are unable to hide any of the filth that is built up from years of genocidal practice. The white man's array of sterile steel equipment is reminiscent of a surgeon's tools, visually tying whiteness to the medical. In the 16th and 17th centuries, Europe underwent a rewriting of codes, whereby science became an organizing force, with its methods of observation and experimentation being used to perpetuate the myth of a singular quantifiable objectivity. Paradoxically, however, the axioms for the objective are set by and according to whiteness. The European scientific ideology fixed difference according to a secret genetic code and married itself to the aesthetic through the development of physiognomy, whereby a person's genetics became tied to their appearance, which became tied to their demeanor and became encapsulated in race. The conflation of nature and culture through racecraft is foundational to the European and American genocides of indigenous peoples, Africans in the Afro diaspora, Jews during the Holocaust, and all other state-sponsored genocides beginning and following first contact in 1492. Through Peck's nightmarish evocation, the role of science in genocide is made viscerally apparent, as Trouillot is wheeled into a room of hundreds of other white beds. Whiteness's vultureness symbolically speaks to its reliance on the extraction of African life and labor to sustain itself in its vampiric state. Through ambiguity and dreamlike incongruities, the scene allows for the connection of disparate temporalities and geographies together under a common origin story for whiteness, underpinned by the ideological maxims of white Western science. In Part 4, The Bright Colors of Fascism, the amalgamation of various images of war crimes in the sensory and psychological experiences of white man continues this theme of transtemporality. In a return to the opening scenes of the series, white man wades through the massacred Seminole village, worn down by physical and psychic exhaustion. Interspersed between close-ups of his face and distorted breaths are of men, women, and children, the casualties of war perpetrated by actors bolstered by ideologies of white supremacy. As Peck's recurring figure of colonialism, white man is literally weighed down by the scale and magnitude of war crimes tied to his being, as he is finally sucked into the body of water that he attempts to wash his guilt away in. The interspersion of photographs of wars from the 19th and 20th centuries as white man's flashbacks, alongside Peck's recreation of the massacre of the Seminole tribe, ties the various events together, showing how all European and American wars following the genocide of indigenous Americans are recreations of these original events. The white man's resonates as a string connecting supposedly disparate moments of colonialism and acting as a sticky, cohesive force for a historical interrogation of the origins of white supremacy. Both of these scenes of the white man incorporate a sense of ambiguity into Peck's cutting historical analysis. These scenes momentarily suspend time and location, or even splice and combine them in incongruous yet evocative ways. Moreover, these moments allow for a temporary retreat into the subconscious, as they take on surreal and dreamlike qualities. White man dreams that he is being surrounded and attacked by the descendants of the very people of the Congo he had played an active role in extracting life and labor from. As shown by the white man's archetypical early 20th century khaki explorer's outfit, in contrast to the contemporary Western clothes such as skinny jeans, white sneakers, and sleeveless hoodies of his pursuers, visual markers of different time periods momentarily intersect and congeal in these sequences, cluing audiences into the irregularities of the narrative. As the camera pans up and out to show just how outnumbered White Man is, the scene suddenly shifts, revealing that he has been dreaming. White Man's relief is short-lived, however, as he finds himself staring down the barrel of a gun. That exterminate all brutes, final moments involve the death of its primary symbol of colonialism, is a cathartic ending note, disrupting the omnipotence of White Man had previously moved throughout scenes with. In both this ending scene and Trio's nightmare scene, these narratives of the subconscious are imbued with a certain mythopoesis, whereby their incongruous and imagined natures are more telling of the emotive realities of colonialism and slavery than just a historical overview would be. These mythopoetic moments, where narrative shifts to the poetic and imagined, destabilize the economy of myths of whiteness that attempt to obscure itself under supposedly objective truths such as science. Nightmarish sequences come to represent the visceral consequences of white supremacy, leaving space for a narrative that explores the emotional and affective experiences of living in a world organized by and around whiteness. Through a combination of rigorous historical analysis and space-time congealing visuals, Exterminate All the Brutes connects the supposedly disjointed threads of colonialism from 1492 to the present, from Europe to Africa to the Caribbean. The myopic and disingenuous isolation of these entanglements is a tactic of racecraft aimed at obscuring and normalizing whiteness. Thus, transtemporal and transgeographic visual enmeshment highlight the complexities and connections of the various global skeins of whiteness, whose threads must first be unraveled before they can be cut.